Good morning, welcome, happy Monday morning, and welcome if you're in Melbourne, where I'm based. It is very rainy outside. I hope wherever you are that you're enjoying the weather, you're inside, having a wonderful cup of coffee, cup of tea, glass of water, really whatever your style is, smoothie, juice, up to you on a Monday morning. If you are joining us, thank you and welcome. This is episode number 36 of Copy with Campus Consultancy. It's our 8th week of running this program. We have 5 amazing guests for you today. 5 guests today. We have 1 amazing guest for you today, 5 guests this week. But before I introduce you to our wonderful guest for today and our topic for today, we'll do this quick introduction. Good morning. Hello.
How
are you? Very well. How are you?
All good. I'm based in Sydney, and the weather is amazing. So
it's amazing. Classic Sydney. The Sydney-Melbourne debate rages on. My guest today, if you're listening, and thank you for tuning in, everyone. My guest today, and our wonderful guest today, is Vlad. And I'll pass it over to you to give a moment. Tell the world, Vlad, if you would, please. Who is Vlad? What are you about? And what's a little bit of your backstory?
Hey guys, my name is Vlad. I work as a management consultant at Grant Thornton. Been working there for about 2 years. Previously, I was an international student who graduated at UNSW, University of New South Wales in Sydney, working as a consultant in business development international sales in Israel, the country that I came from. And basically was in the army as an officer, done a lot of different things in my life. But mainly, I'm very passionate about helping students and helping people grow in their career.
That's amazing. What was the transition like from, if I may ask, from being in Israel, being in the army, to Australia, being an international student? Were there any parallels? Were they just diametrically opposed kind of experiences? And maybe tell us a little bit about maybe the why. Why did you make that transition? Why study in Australia?
So I finished in the Israeli army, or probably in 2007, 2008. So it was long time ago. I know that I do look younger than I probably sound, but it's been a while. So I've done a lot of things in my life. I went through different phases in my career. I've done my bachelor degree in Israel as well, as management and finance. And then after a while, after working in export international sales, of traveling the world and seeing different clients, I decided to come to Australia. And one of the main reasons was to experience another life, experience how is it to live in somewhere else and how is it to work in a different culture. And those experiences, in my opinion, are valuable. Very much, and if you have a chance, why not to try it?
100%.
I
love it. And you're joining us today. I'm really excited to chat to you about this topic, to be how to expect the unexpected, how to be prepared for the unexpected. I'm 8 weeks into this show. We sort of kicked it off right when COVID got really serious, and we sort of shut everything down. Obviously, some of those restrictions are being lifted. I think what's important partially there is this is just an example of the unexpected in life. And it's important to learn, from the experiences, learn from the pain and make the progress. So when we talk about preparing for the unexpected, where do you think why is it important? Why do you think it's important to think about things in life that are going to happen that you might not expect? Because the counter argument could be, well, they're unexpected. They're going to pop up out of nowhere. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it kind of mentality. Why is it important to think about it, or what's the danger with we'll just deal with that when it comes?
Well, it's always good to prepare for something, in my opinion. Crossing that bridge when we'll get to it with no tools in hand would be very, very challenging. So what if you come to the river and there is no bridge? And you really, really need to cross it. So the approach of being prepared is, well, you need to sharpen your knives. You need to work on your tools and have that specific amount of timber that you might need in case if something happens. Once you get to that river and there is no bridge, well, you can build one. And if there is, well, you just pass along because, well, it's now easier. Same as with life and career. So you need to prepare in general, not for a specific thing to happen. So we are now in COVID situation, it's a pandemic situation. We never expected that. As a businessman, as a consultant and management consulting practice, nobody expected that. And we had our plans and we chatted with clients, and then suddenly poof, and we all looked at home. The industry is, half of it is shut down, and we all wait to see what will happen. So not being prepared for this situation, nobody prepared for it, but all of us had some kind of tools to cope with it. The fact that we can work remotely from home, it's a tool. The fact that we can have this conversation via online stream or through Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Skype, this is a tool. And again, we all prepare to work with it. We never used to work with it as much as we do today. But having the tools in your pocket really makes things easier and better to adjust.
Yes. And so when students say, I know students and university educators are a large part of the audience, they're always wondering, how do we prepare our students? Students like, how do we prepare ourselves for a somewhat uncertain future? And the question I want to ask you, I was reading an article last night. Australia's top market economist, Jeff Borland, said, and I quote, "It now seems certain that cohorts of students who are or would have been leaving school at the end of this year or perhaps next year will face a considerably more difficult time getting into employment." So that can feel like maybe that's the uncertainty, but we're also now saying, hey, this is sort of getting beyond the unexpected. This is almost expected. It's like you've seen the river and there is no bridge. And some students might be looking at that going, hey, you know what? There's no bridge and I don't know if I actually have all the tools that I need just yet.
Yeah.
So if a student was in that position, knowing you have so much experience in student leadership, particularly looking after students at a graduate level, what are some things that you think students could be thinking about? What steps practically could they take to be more prepared for an unexpected future?
So you need to understand what will happen if, or what will happen when you will graduate. So everybody will graduate and will go and look for a job. Majority of the students that currently studying never experienced this situation in the market. So there are some of us who lived through GFC in 2008 and 2010, and we saw how to adapt to those situations, how to find work in the total uncertainty, and when the market basically we're on the floor, and we kind of coming to the similar situation now. So you need to understand that you would want to be hired, you would want to find a job, a good job or a mediocre job. You would want to have start gaining experience, and you would need to think about what will lead you to getting that job, and that's the end goal. So we're starting in university not because we just like it. So some of us enjoy the courses, we enjoy the social aspect of it, but it ends, and then what?
Yeah.
And then what usually comes the working life, the adult life, and you would need to be prepared for that adult life by having those specific tools and by being hired. And then my approach is basically what will get you hired, what will distinguish you between different other students who just graduated, what will make you hired and not somebody else. And those are the things that I would probably suggest all the students to concentrate on.
What are some of those things, Vlad? In your opinion, your experience, especially working in the field, you're around young people entering the field or people early in their careers, regardless of age. What are some of those things that employers are looking out for, that are saying these skills are just non-negotiable, got to have them?
I think communication skills is one of the first and main things. If you cannot communicate properly in the workplace, it would be very, very challenging for any manager to be convinced to hire. And communication skills come in different forms. So it's conversation, being able to manage a conversation. It's reading skills of being able to write a proper resume without spelling mistakes, or being able to draft a normal assignment or a PowerPoint presentation. So this is one of the basic things, in my opinion, that you have to have. If you don't know how to communicate, it would be very, very hard to convince anybody to hire you. Second thing, and I'm hiring individuals. I've been hiring my whole life. I usually look at the story that they can share, the experiences that they gained. We need to understand that any students who graduates from a bachelor or master's degree usually don't have a lot of years of experience in his back pocket. So us as employers, we evaluate those students or evaluate those individuals based on their experiences that they gain through uni and their grades. Well, grades, I believe in some people getting A's and some people getting C's, and both of those individuals can put the same amount of effort. So you can try hard enough, but if you're not an A student, you probably won't be an A student. So I would suggest in that specific area is to concentrate on other things. Invest in yourself, in your experiences, in that specific storyline that you can share in an interview, that the people might remember you after you finish that interview. So the best.
Oh, sorry, go.
Yeah, so the best thing that can happen is that the person who interviewed you going home at the end of the day and he thinks about what you said. That's when you know that you have a good story, and that's when you know that you will be hired.
I love that. How do you do this? So one of the things that we do in workshops is we'll take students through a storytelling framework. We'll take them through the STAR method, some stuff. But one of the things whenever we work with a student on their story, we do a couple of iterations, and it's almost always add some emotion, add how you felt, add what you were thinking about. Tell us about the other things you considered that you didn't do. Like really flesh it out a little bit. And one of the questions that comes up all the time from students is they're like, but in an interview, I want to be professional. I don't want to tell stories. Telling stories is what I do with my friends on the weekend. When I'm in an interview, it's about being professional. And so that's a real mindset shift of actually storytelling is a skill. So when we say, we actually, from an employer directly, we want to hear the story of how you got here. What's a way that we could add some color to that for students so it doesn't sound like you're telling them a fairy tale, but there's quite a structure to it?
Have a specific story in mind. So if you are aiming for a job in accounting, show and present the skills that they're looking for. If you're looking for a job in management consulting or in finance, show and present the skills that they're looking for. That means do the research before. And the story needs to be based on your real life events, not something that you invented just to fit the specific interview. And that brings me to the point of do a lot as much as possible during your uni time. So you would be able to share those stories, your successes and your failures, and what you learn from those failures. I think as an employer, nobody invites future employees to an interview to fail them in the interview. So we already starting the conversation wanting to hire you. Otherwise, you would probably won't be there. So the main point is not to ruin it, not to screw it up. You need to share a story about your life that shows you in a way that specific employer wants to see you. He wants to see you as a professional individual who knows how to communicate, who brings initiative, who is thinking outside of the box, who is not afraid to jump into deep water. Then that's the story that you share. If an employer wants you to be very detailed oriented and wants you to sit in the box and just crunch the numbers because he needs you to be the best mathematician or accountant or financial individual that you can be, then show a story where you've done that. It all aligns to what is being looked at, who is looking at.
Yes. I love that distinction. I think that's so tangible of as an easy distinction, or a relatively easy distinction. Does this employer want to hear an inside of the box story or an outside of the box story? And ideally, maybe you get both, because you might go for a job at Facebook or Google, and then you get in the interview and you can tell by the persona of the person in front of you, they're an inside the box kind of guy or gal. Or you might go for a job at an accounting firm or something like that, and you sit down and the guy's got a big jacket and his cuffs are rolled up and the collar's popped, there's a big colorful tie, and he gives you a high five when you walk in, and like, you're going to need an outside of the box kind of story potentially in that situation. I love that idea of inside of the box or outside of the box.
Yeah. And one additional thing is like all those managers who will do your interview, they're eventually looking at you as potential employee that they will work with on a daily basis.
Yes.
7 to 9 hours a day. So they're not looking for a professional individual who knows his stuff, but it's very boring. They want to have fun. They spend most of their days at work as well. They need to deliver work, but they want to work with people that they like. So sharing a story, that presents you as a human being that individual might like and that individual might have fun with, then
Yeah.
it's humanizing the situation.
I love that. You got an inside the box and an outside of the box, and then layering that with even explicitly saying people can get along with you. And I'll give an example for students. If you're listening and you're like, well, like, what does that actually mean? So on the same day when I was a student, it was a second year student at university. We both went to UNSW, good old UNSW. Second day of university. If I was telling an inside the box story, in second year, when I started studying for exams, we made a 30-day study calendar. We got all of our exams, made an Excel sheet to calculate how much marks we needed to be on track to get first class honors. We reverse engineered that over 30 days. We got all the past papers. We made a 30-day study plan. We got up at 6. We worked till 5. We never worked a minute past 5 p.m. So that's like my inside the box thing, and I could tell that in detail. But then I'd say the difference was I found people who challenged me, who had marks were better than me. I surrounded myself with people who I could learn from. My job was to organize a bunch of things. And then after 5 p.m., we went out and we had fun. We went to the movies. We went for dinner. We socialized because we got our work done. So It's like inside of the box with, people, or if it's outside of the box on that same day. My job in second year was raising about 24 grand for a college fundraiser and a ball. And to do that, cleared out my cupboard, filled it with Cadbury chocolate, made a competition amongst all the first year students and sent them out with a box of chocolates. We ran barbecues and it was like fun. We were giving away like cases of beer to whoever raised the most money. Like we just had fun with it, raised all this money, gave the rest to charity and ran a huge ball at the end of the year, which 150 people came to. So on the same day, those two things happened. We were selling chocolate. Like I had a chocolate stand at my door and I was studying, but one's super inside the box and one's very outside of the box. And so I wonder, like, if someone's in that situation today on a Monday, you could start a fundraiser, you could start an outside of the box, or exams are coming up. You could make a 30-day study calendar. Like both of those things you could do right now so that in 6 months, well, not so that you do it for the reason you do it, but the benefit of it is in 6 months, you sit down in an interview, you're like, all right, I need an outside of the box and an inside of the box. And I need to do it with other people. You've got two stories there because you've actually done the work. I get so many questions from students who are like, what's the secret trick? The secret trick is the work.
Yeah. Just get up off your chair and just go do something that nobody else doing.
Yes.
That's the secret sauce in this. And while you were sharing those specific stories, as an interviewer, potentially what you can hear is thinking outside of the box, time management skills, team management skills, because, well, you organize a team around you, creative thinking, thinking about the community that you're part of. So it's not just me, it's how I can help everybody around me as well. So again, and if I'm looking for a specific thing, I'm like, hey, this guy knows how to organize. And he organized a social event. He also organized a work event or an education event that helped bring the community together and provide them something that they didn't have before. So initiative there, communication is there. Well, you sound like a good guy, and you're also fun to speak with. Then I probably will pass you to the next round, or will hire you. So from a perspective of an interviewer, you just share a story. I caught multiple skills that you were basically able to present from the experience that you just shared. But again, you can share those experiences because you've done it. So you're not inventing something, you're not sharing something out of the blue. You've done those things. You can go as detailed as possible, and you can basically present it as a high level. And it is important. And that brings us to the point of it is important to do things during your uni life. Not just study and not just party, but also think about the next step. What will happen when you will graduate? What will happen when you reach that river and you will need to cross it? What tools I will have in my back pocket?
Yes. I love that idea too of like, you don't want to show up at the river with an empty tool belt. But it's this idea of, oh, well, I'm about to graduate. What do I do to get a job? You're standing there with an empty tool or a perceived empty tool belt saying, how do I invent tools out of thin air? And it doesn't work like that. It works like, that I guess that's what we're saying today. To prepare for the unexpected, you're going to hit a river at some point in the future that doesn't have a bridge on it. And it's what you do today puts tools in your tool belt so that when you get there, you have the best chance, even if it's not guaranteed, to cross it. And so I think that point of starting today, and I know one of the messages you spoke about a little bit before we started was this idea of like, go and get it. And one of the barriers to that, people are like, well, I don't want someone to say no. I don't want it to fail. I don't want it to not work. What do you think the role and importance of getting over that no, or getting over that idea of failure is when it comes to developing skills, developing tools, chasing that job, creating that project? Why is it important to get past the no?
It is important because no basically locks you in one spot. So with a no, that means that you're not even trying to do anything. You're scared to get a no, and that basically prohibits you from thinking outside of the box and being creative, being initiative. And one of the things that I've shared before we started this podcast is my approach to no. And you've mentioned that you never heard it from anybody, which is good. I guess that I can claim it to myself. But
yes.
My approach is, well, you're sitting at home, you're looking for a job, you're afraid to get no, but you're sitting at home, you basically already get a no. That means that you already had a negative feedback. You're already sitting at home, you didn't get the job, you didn't get that role, you didn't get that promotion, it doesn't matter. So you're already in that specific spot. The only thing that you can do and the only gain that you can get is a yes. So going out there, trying to do something will only lead to a yes, because no, you already have it in your hands.
It's so good, Vlad. I like this so much. I think this is such a powerful framing. You're right. So one of the things I always like whenever I talk about no with guests, the idea that you already have a no in your hands is such a powerful, like you're sitting there right now potentially with a no, and that's okay. So maybe, Vlad, just to humanize this a little bit, maybe if we could each maybe share a story of when we had a no and then what we did to kind of like move past that. So is there a time when you realized you were sitting with a no in your hands, like you didn't have the job, you didn't have the relationship, you didn't have the position as the, Graduate Student Association president, you weren't with the business school. Like, is there a time when you became aware you were sitting with a no? And then what did you do? What was that first step? What was that strategy? So
as a president of Graduate Student Association, it's a society for postgraduate students at UNSW. We were representing 5,500 students of postgraduate students, so it's quite a lot. And in my year of being a president, with my team, we've done amazing things and bringing that knowledge and expertise to the students. One of the things that I'm very proud of is gaining internships for international students. And if there are any international students among us who are listening, they know how hard and challenging it is to get an internship, especially for an individual who is not local, who is an international student, doesn't really have any specific visas or any specific benefits of being in Australia. So getting that and basically providing those internships for international students was very, very challenging. So me and my team were sitting, well, never was done before, so it probably is not possible. Nobody's looking at us, nobody cares. So you already have a no, so you're not even trying. But when we did that approach from a perspective of, well, yes, we already have a no, but let's try. Let's go and speak with other companies. Let's try and knock on doors and get those specific internships. We stopped being afraid and became very determined and very target-oriented.
Tell me about that. Tell me about the shift from afraid to determined.
So I could see it in the eyes of my team where they suddenly start to believe that, well, hey, this might be possible that we can actually make it happen. We can actually do it. They become very positive about the outcome and potential of the outcome. And that shift helps them to realize that, hey, you can achieve that. And how you can achieve that, then you start planning your strategy. Long story short, we ended up with 11 internships for international students, which is unheard of. And those 11 individuals went through a vetting process, interviews, and so on and so forth. But they got to experience a work life in Australia during the studies. And
that's amazing. And I'm sure lots more students applied, so they got to go through the experience of applying for an internship and getting feedback and that sort of stuff as well.
And the majority of them never applied for anything because, well, they graduated from bachelor, dove straight into master's degree, never worked a day in their life, and never knew how to write a resume, how to properly prepare for an interview, what questions might be asked. So putting them on the spot and helping them through series of events on how to prepare for an interview, creating mock interviews for those students is one of the things that we actually created in the society. Helping them to realize what will happen when, so they will have those experiences. So when they get to an interview, they remember the feedback that they got from the mock interviews. They remember the feedback from their resumes. They now are able, or better, share their story, better position themselves and frame their story in perspective of the employer who's looking at it, and not just how they think they need to share it.
Definitely. And I think, and so many people are jumping in, Kashif, Isha, Divya, and Lily, Kashif, and Kashif's comment here of like, it's hard to get an internship. One of the things I always say to students is try to remove that word hard, because it's easy, like, oh, it's hard, but it's like, if you can challenge that word hard, but what's hard about it? Get really curious about that. What's standing in the way? What could I do? Do I have any power or control over it? Because your shift of afraid to determined, both of those words are so powerful. Like, they both mean I don't have it yet. But afraid is a focus on what you don't have, what you can't control, the fear, the monster under the bed. Determined is like, I'm going to, in 5 seconds, I'm getting out of bed, I'm running, I'm putting the lights on, I'm going to check if there's a monster there. You know, the action that comes from those two mindsets is so different, even though they both, it's not naive. They both acknowledge you don't yet have what you want, but the action that comes after is so different. I think that's a powerful distinction.
With that, if you're afraid, you're never trying anything. So you're sitting at home with a no, and you're not even trying to get out and get a yes. Now, even if you get a no in an interview, all right, and you get a negative feedback, or you're getting a feedback that you were not accepted, you still get a feedback. You know where you can improve. And trust me, when you leave an interview, you know in your heart what you did good and what you did badly.
Yes.
You feel that hey, yeah, I nailed it. I've done an amazing interview, or, oh, I could have done better. And those are the things that I should probably improve on next time. So regardless of the outcome, you're already learning, you're already developing yourself. So the more you experience, the better experience you become.
Yeah. Vlad, our 36th guest, you may well be the most quotable guest I've ever had. I'm sitting here like trying to type out like highlights from all the different things you're saying, and we're doing so much with international students. I'm definitely going to share this so more and more people see these snippets. What you're doing, your approach to this is so, to me, comes off so strong and so confident. Very like, I want to say this in the best possible way. Not sure of, like, there's a degree of belief in what you're saying, of like, I know this works. It's worked for me. I've seen it work for others. Yep. If people wanted to do something, and then we'll finish with the idea of like going out and getting it, and then that action. But is there anything that, whether it's from your experience in the past, your things you do on a daily basis, things that you choose to think about, you strike me as someone who spends quite a lot of time. Maybe that's not the right way. You strike me as someone who has a sense of belief, and I'm not sure where that comes from. And I'd love to know that, because lots of international students, I sense the hesitation. I hence the like, I'm not too sure. Where does that sense of confidence, for lack of a better word, come from for you, my friend?
I think believing in yourself, looking at the experiences that you gain through your life, and being determined towards your goals. So again, there's a long-term goal and short-term gain. And so if you think about your life, and that's another quote that you might use later on, but if you think in your life from a perspective of not today and what will happen in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, if you switch it and turn it around and say to yourself, how will I look at my life when I will be 70?
Yes.
Will those specific fears now influence how I will act? That you will not even remember them. So what you will remember is two things: your missed opportunities, and trust, you will remember each and every missed opportunity that you had. And what will you remember? It's your successes that you gave.
Yeah.
So I don't want to remember in 70 all the missed opportunities that I had and not trying to seize them. So I think the confidence comes from a perspective. I don't want to be afraid at 70 looking at my life and thinking, hey, I could have done better.
Yeah.
I'm doing as best as I can now. I'm trying and aiming and goal oriented towards what I want to get. So when I will be 70, I would be comfortably in my skin and thinking that, hey, I was and been the best that I could be.
Yes.
And that's my perspective. I think looking at it from sort of 70-year-old span and not just, hey, what will happen next year or in 2 years and 3 years, that puts everything in perspective. And suddenly those big problems that you currently have, they're not that big. And suddenly the things that you might decide today and you think that, well, it will ruin my whole life. Well, probably not. It lowers the amount of anxiety. It brings additional positivity, and that's how I approach things. And in my coaching, and I do coach a couple of my ex-students and a couple of the employees that I have working with me. That's the approach. Don't think about it now. Think about in 50 years span, what you will think about yourself, about your achievements, and about the things that you missed today. So
yes.
Go and get it, I guess.
I love that. And I love the idea of if people want something really tangible to do today, what does it mean just before you open your emails today, before you scroll down the feed, before you go and do something, could you take 2 or 3 minutes? And if you haven't done this before, and take a blank sheet of paper, open a new note on your phone and just say, today I turned 70 years old. And just write and let it come out, whatever you think, whatever you want, what you want to look back on, and do that mental experiment and get it down on paper and just see what you'd like to say, best that you can imagine, and then see, okay, is the road I'm traveling on taking me in that direction or not? And, if I've taken a couple of detours, that's all right, and it's time for adventures, but am I on that track? And if you are, like, as you say, go and get it. And if you're not, there's probably worth, if nothing else, a moment to pause and think about, okay, maybe I just need to step back a little bit from the hustle and bustle and the exams and everything and just reassess that direction. Because we get to control the pitch, as the quote goes, we get to control the pitch of our sails, not the wind that strikes them.
Exactly.
So it's having them in the right direction so that when that opportunity comes, we are prepared for the unexpected.
Exactly. Yeah, and don't be afraid of those unexpected things. I think we should enjoy the things that come to us when we least expect them, because those are the things that define us as individuals, as professionals. And those are the things that you will remember the most. You don't remember your day-to-day life. You remember those highlight trips. You remember that one amazing interview that you've done. You remember those highlights in your life. So when something unexpected comes, well, just grab it and run with it. If we do a football analogy, and American football analogy,
I love it.
Run towards the end line.
I love it. Vlad, you mentioned it before, and you mentioned it when we prepared. I wanted to really highlight it. One of the things that you really drilled in on was this idea of like, go and get it. If you're there, if you're in 2020, if you've got your health, if you've got the internet, to go and get it. So if people have tuned in today and they're like, okay, that bridge is coming. That river is coming. The bridge isn't there. I've got a tool belt, and it's on me to put the tools in it. And it's on me to tell the stories. What is something that you would love? If 5 people were watching, or 10 people, or 50 people were going to do the one thing, whatever you said, they're like, Vlad, I believe you. I'll do it. What do you want me to do? What do you think for people to help themselves? You'd love to see more students or young professionals do on a Monday morning going into the week on the 1st of June? What would you love to see people go and actually do?
Plan ahead, a couple of steps, not just this upcoming week, but probably the whole semester, including the exam period. Think about what other people look for, what they might look in you, and try to be there. So speak as much as possible with as much people as you can. Reach out to individuals sitting at home. You have LinkedIn, you have Facebooks, you have whatever platform that you're on. Reach out, join webinars, ask questions, listen. At the end of the day, people hire people.
Yes.
You hire individuals who have skill, knowledge, connections, who can do something that other people can't. Get those items under your belt. Try to get those connections, get that knowledge. If you're graduating tomorrow, well, it's probably a bit too late. But if you have additional 6 months ahead of you, or at least a year, or 2 years, or 3 years, there's so many things that you can do. It's not just this upcoming week or this upcoming semester. It's this upcoming degree. Participate. Try to develop yourself as an individual. Try to make as much connections as you can. Develop your leadership skills. Volunteer. Try to help people around you. And usually what happens is that positive effect will boost you as an individual, will boost your profile, and eventually will propel you to a successful career as well.
Sage advice, Vlad. Absolutely love it. Thank you for today. So a couple of things I pulled out, which I would just want to summarize and highlight. I think it's worth it. One, that idea of it's all about the story you tell and how you tell it, leaning into communication skills, crafting the story, that inside the box, outside of the box kind of idea, bringing the people into it. Number two, that idea of you're already sitting on a no, and that's okay. I love the quote, you can't solve a problem you're not willing to have. So someone's like, who are you to tell me I've got a no? It's like, well, if you don't have a job, you've got a no, which is okay. There are things that I don't have that I'm chasing. And the first step is me going, I don't have it. I don't have it yet. Okay. Do I really want it? Yes. Why do I want it? These reasons. Okay, great. Am I willing to do the work? I think I am. Yes. And that's a very different mindset to like, oh, I just couldn't get it. Then that third step of go and get it. But one of the things that really unlocks that is afraid to determined. I thought that was such an insightful point. If today one person could make that distinction of, am I actually really afraid of this? Or really is what I'm experiencing, am I determined? Like, in the next time, if you're listening and you come across that and you're afraid of something that you want it for the right reasons, ask yourself, am I really afraid of this? Or am I determined to get it? And if you switch into determination mode, just like you said, it starts, I'm going to source internships for other people. I'm going to make a mock interview guide. I'm going to help not just me, but help others. And I think that's a beautiful message, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Vlad, you've been amazing, and I'm sure this episode is going to get a lot of feedback, and I'm loving all the comments and everyone for joining us already. Vlad, if people want to check you out, if they want to follow along with what you do, if they want to learn more about the Graduate Students Association or opportunities at Accenture, things like that, where's a great place for them to go to see you or follow you or engage with you in any way?
LinkedIn would be the best platform for that. If you have any questions about career in Grad Thornton or consultancy career in general, if you have questions about leadership or societies on how to make an impact, feel free to reach out. My name is Vladimir Kalmanovich, and I'm tagged in the post so you can see the full name. I usually go by Vlad because it's easier and it's shorter, but find me and click me a message, and I'll try to help as much as I can.
I love it. Vlad, you're amazing. Thank you for your time today, my friend. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for doing this. I think it's amazing. I think the students and your listeners getting so much from those different individuals that you interview. It's a lot of content and a lot of good content. So thank you for that as well. Oh,
thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I really do. All right. Well, everyone for joining us. Thank you for joining on this Monday morning, episode number 36. Kashi is saying I'm going to follow Vlad right now. Thanks for sharing your insights. Divya is saying, thanks, Josh and Grad. Great thoughts. You're so welcome, Divya. And Divya and Kashif, we love those comments, and everyone who has, let us know what you do. Go and do something, take an action, and let us know how you go. You're not in this alone. So you've got our permission. Send us a message. We had a guest on a few weeks ago, and every Wednesday I said, send me a message. And 3 Wednesdays in a row he has. We've been tracking his progress towards getting a job. So it's happening. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Annie. We appreciate you joining us. Join us again tomorrow. If you're interested, if you're enjoying this, if you've got nothing else on at 8 a.m. and you're willing to learn and expand, tomorrow we're joined by Ahmed, and Ahmed's going to talk about the power of networking. So a perfect transition from today. We're going to be getting into practically, how do you network? What steps do you take? How do you do it online? How do you follow up with people? So if you're interested in that, please join us tomorrow. But for today, as we wrap up, Vlad, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye all. See you later.